We're now going to go over together how I styled my portfolio site using the power of CSS. So here I've basically created a copy of all of my files, and so I'm just going to delete my CSS file, and we're going to create that together. So if I just open this up now, so this one is unstyled, but I still have a copy here of the actual styled one, so I'm going to try and get this to this. So let's get started. So the first thing I need to do is to create I'm just going to delete these as well. So that we're completely starting from scratch. There we go. So first thing I'm going to do is to create my new CSS file. So I'm going to just save here in the same folder as we have our CSS files. So I'm just going to call this 1.4.css. Don't worry about the title names here. Okay, and then I'm just going to try something. I'm going to do body, background color. Let's go for blue, just to test it out for now. And when I refresh the page, fantastic. Okay, so we have two options now on how we're going to how we're going to replicate the site. We can either choose our own colors, or we can use this cool color picker I showed you previously to dictate the color. So I'm going to look at this, and it's been copied. So now if I change here, I'm just going to refresh the page. There we go, we have the same color. Fantastic. So all I've done there is I've changed the background color of the body. The next thing I'm going to do is to decide on a font. I actually want to use the same font throughout the website, the whole website. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to search for, let's say, CSS font families. Let's go for a font family list. Okay, so here we go, CSS web-safe fonts at our friend W3 Schools. So here are a few that we can have a look at, and they give a few examples. So for example, we have Arial, Helvetica, Impact. Like I say, I like the look of Helvetica quite a lot, so I'm just going to go in here and do font family, select it from here, and then I'm going to enter Helvetica. So now if you look closely, when I refresh, the font changes. Perfect. And you can choose, this gives you a nice list of the web safe fonts. Not all fonts are web safe because some browsers don't have all of them stored. So it's a good idea to use something from this list. So next up, what we're going to do is we're going to look at creating these borders. So let's start with doing the table first. So I'm just going to go table, and then if you remember, for styling a border, you just need to put border, and then you put in the width of the border, and then the style of the border, so whether you want it to be solid or dotted or lined, and then you put in the color. So we're going to have a thin border of 2 pixels, let's say, and I always go for solid borders because I like the look of that. And then let's see what color it is. Just paste that in here. And then if we refresh our page, fantastic. So it looks like it's done the table, but as you may remember from a previous lecture, it's not doing the same as what we want here. And that's because we also need to select the table header and the table data. So in order to do that, all we have to do is just put a comma. We just separate this by comma. And we say table header, table data. So now if I refresh, fantastic, that's looking good. The next thing I want to do is to style these ones here, so all of our links. So it looks like all I'm doing here, all that's been done here, let's say, is it's got a border. So we'll start there. So we want to style our links, which for the HTML tag is A for anchor. So we want to make a border, so we're going to do the exact same thing again. I think we're going to have a border pretty much the same, except I might make it slightly thinner. So we'll go for 1 pixel. And there we have it, that looks nice. And I'm going to use a color picker. I use ColorZilla. As you can see, this background is ever so slightly lighter than the background around it. Just a fine detail. And if you look closely, you'll see the background has not changed. Oh, of course. That's because I've changed the border. So if I undo that, and then underneath we include the background color. Oops. Let's get that color again. There we go. Enter it in here, semicolon afterwards as always. Now if we refresh, oops, I got the wrong color there, so let's try that one more time. Here we go. Okay. Now this time it should work nicely. Perfect. Okay, so next up we want to look into making these all the same, at least the same width, because it's all looking quite crazy at the moment. We could do a percentage, or we could go for a pixel size. So let's just get stuck in. So we want to style all of our images. Now, from what I've taught you so far, you wouldn't be able to necessarily style the images differently. So you had some large and some small. Don't worry, we'll be getting onto that very, very soon. So let's just have a go at it. So with the images, let's try having everything at the same pixel size. So as you can see, that hasn't done much. So let's take a look as to why that might be. Well, I haven't actually put in anything here. So we want to have the width as 100px. As you can see, now that has gotten a lot smaller. Let's see what would happen if instead we did 50%. So we're doing 50% of the original width. Okay, that looks good, that looks good. But yeah, the social media icons are way too big. So let's go with pixel values for now. Okay, fantastic. And I'll be showing you in a future lecture as well how these can actually be ordered so they're next to each other, horizontally rather than vertically. Okay, so let's see how this is doing compared to that one. Okay, looking good. And then if we go to our contact page here, now we just want to add a background color onto our form, so it stands out a little bit. So I'm going to use the same color as here. Perfect. And for the form, so I'm going to style the form. So if I go in here, and I'm just going to put background color, and if I refresh this page now, perfect. So as you can see, in not too much time, we've been able to do some basic styling. The last thing to do that I've forgotten is to style our headers. So for our H1, I always like putting these at near the top of the CSS file. So H1, we want to have it aligned in the center. And I want to change the color as well. And I also want to change the color of the other headers, which I believe are H2. There we go. Okie dokie. So I'm just going to put color in here. And then I'm just going to use the color picker again to get that color. Okay, now if I save that, there we go, that's looking good now. All I want to do now is change this link as well to have the same color because it stands out a bit. So I'm just going to put color in here. Remember that just color by itself like that means the color of the actual text. Perfect. So now we have a nice basic styled website. So what we've done here is we've created borders for the links. We've also styled the font family, the color, and we've been able to align the text into the center. We've been able to style our table, done a bit of background color work here, and we've been able to resize our images here. So if you haven't already done this yourself, I highly recommend you give it a go. Not only do you start to have a portfolio page that's looking a bit better now, but it's also fantastic practice. So have a go yourself, and then I'll see you in the next lecture.